Thank you, Buster. The fun part about when I get to go do multiple things while trying to set up with editing is that sometimes getting back in the goddamn fucking whatchamacallit is always a piece of energy. Both myself and Brianna Wu were made moderator heads of Dev's community on X. And this is just begging to see some shit happen. Bro. Well, that explains why the camera's off center. Anywho. Brianna Wu, the Brianna Wu, myself, and a bunch of other people from inside of Dev's community have been working on an idea. And that idea was put together by one of the more chaos mods called Antelope. Some of you should be familiar with him. Where they put forth the idea of the Devanarchy. And the concept of the Devanarchy, effectively, is a literal interconnection of all the people and all the content that Dev does. Now, I can't tell you the reason why. One of the main core reasons why. Because unfortunately we have some little chaos goblins that love drama. But what I can tell you is that the idea behind it was to get people involved, talking to each other, actually engaging with people's material. And because Antelope did not like that the culture that he loves in Dev's community was being stifled, mainly by the stringent nature, or lack thereof, of the Discord, which for most people's ability to get involved in, they can't socialize in, because it's structured in a way to protect Dev from the retardation of certain people, but it does not protect him from the retardation of something like, say, moderators behaving in certain ways, or public users that can be in the Discord behaving in such a way where they are effectively scaring the hoes and ruining the rent price, or rather ruining the building price of such an audience. It is possible for you to now engage with this group as a member, while others, while myself, are having fun either interacting with each other or doing other such things for the fun of having fun. Obviously, I did the first thing that came natural. So basically, he's having fun. Something that I haven't seen Dev do in a while. Depending on what you consider fun. So, you know, that's something that's going on. Anybody who has Twitter can be able to join it. All you have to do is go find community and click on the thing. Not that button. That's the X organization button. But this button here, under communities, you just click on said button on the left side of the screen, over where it says Home, Explorer, Notification, Message, Grok, Premium, Lists, Bookmarks, Jobs. You click on Community, and then to find a community, you go searching for it. Meanwhile, in unrelated news, iDubbbz imagines himself at the riots instead of just going to the riots.
One of my friends got tear gassed a couple days ago. So, yep.
Dude, I kind of wish I was there.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be really fucking sweet to throw the tear gas back at them.
You put the cone on it and then pour the water in.
True.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Oh, that's a good tactic. Yeah, I do.
Even Hassan got his fat ass up and went to the goddamn fucking protests. Before they turned into full-blown riots. That's so sad. That's so sad. She's killing him from the inside. You've been trying to wrap your head around how you should feel about the riots and such goings on. Okay. This is actually a great pivot. Thanks, Alex. So, some bangers that you may not be aware of. You've got people like Lydia, which is Sour Patch Lids, getting involved in drama where they just decide to lower the price of content, trying desperately to agitate people jumping in on the Hamas side of Israel-Palestine. You've got some people unironically angry that ya boy, and by ya boy I don't mean me, I mean ya boy as in this man currently on the screen. I have to do this long way around. Where the boy of Sneeko had people concerned about him possibly having died after falling to his death fucking around on a balcony. But no, that was Cap's shit. He was not in danger and he has lived. You've got an up-and-coming show currently coming out. The spin-off we all expected to happen. Lars of the Stars. It is coming to Prime Video. And the way that I found out about it was from somebody shitposting back on May 7th. Because they desperately wanted there to be a Lars the Stars spinoff. Because they are obsessed with characters like this. Emerald. And the voice actor that voices them.
Emerald on Steven Universe.
And of course, it's Jinxie. Specifically, Jinxie Monsoon.
I don't practice religion. I don't believe in it for myself. Organized religion for me. If I had a religion, it would be Steven Universe. If someone creates the Church of Steven Universe, I'll be there.
Because of course it is. Thousands of people fucking happy to see this fucking minor character show up because they are desperate for this thing that it makes them feel, including Jinxie Monsoon. And so they've wished, and they are getting their wishes fulfilled. Lars of the Stars. It's real. It's coming. And I am so disappointed in each and every person who wants this. Because this is justification that they unironically care more about side characters than they actually do about the show. I don't give a fuck that they don't like Steven Universe. I don't know why niggas are so happy for Lars Veebelbrox. The creation of this character was example and definition that Rebecca Sugar wrote herself into a fucking hole because she was not in charge of her product and truly did not live to the standard of, I know where I'm going with my work. This was the point in the show where it needed to be fumbled. And this one-off episode, to have the miscolors and take advantage of the audience and start using them for crowdsourced ideas. All of this was for that purpose. That's crazy to me. But that's coming through. It's coming on Prime Video, because of course it is. It is not going through HBO Max. I will be properly pirating it. I don't know what to tell you. The cue to this. Not that one. There are people that are saying things extremely stupid, such as this person, Sophie Rain. I accidentally oversized it. I did. Too small. Too small. Just large enough. Pop it out like this. There are some people, such as Sophie Rain, because there are people who are reacting to the news about Bonnie Blue. Recently, Bonnie Blue made a controversial statement where she said she wanted to do a sex petting zoo. She would be tied to a post, and she would have her body restrained in a glass box with her orifices exposed. And men would be allowed to do whatever they wanted to her. This resulted in her getting banned from OnlyFans. OnlyFans said that this was too crazy. However, the reactions of women who themselves are porn artists had things like this to say, such as, I hope one day she realizes the trauma she's causing herself and so many women. Sophie Rain says Bonnie Blue is ruining OnlyFans for everyone. It's no longer about women empowerment. Which led to this post that I squirted out. What a fun way to describe things. I squirted it out. This particular response that I penned while doing heavy editing on all these other things that I'm working on in the background that need to come out soon. Where's the empowerment when you're trading the fate that all 3 or 4s are destined for to instead fuck random, let's be nice today, random men in a gangbang documentary, which is what Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips did and have done and are still trying to do. Or like Ayala the porn star, who has apparently decided to lock her profile since time of learning about it. Her entire idea of the Ayala family and friends cream pie birthday bash with included exit survey, so you can figure out exactly how many people were involved in the process. Where is the empowerment in this activity? Right? That's the idea. Where is the camaraderie and the joy that comes from this activity? Doing it and being around other people doing something like that. And then, at the end of it, by hook or by crook, all OnlyFans women will see at least 3 of these men eventually. And if you can be able to name who these men are, then you might consume a little bit too much porn. Although, I just chose, like, some of the 3 easier recognizable male stars. 2 of these are professional. One of these is an amateur porn star who is just known for topping very specific OnlyFans women, such as Carmela Clutch. And for doing emotes while he's in his shit. And I'm talking about emotes while he's in it! In it! When he's in it! So, there's that. What else was there? There was this post that I wrote where I was looking at something that happened to relate to what I'm going to call bad acting Anita, which is to say Felicia Day. I looked at this picture of her and I thought to myself, wow, this woman's been on the internet for almost as long as my sister has, and somehow she's fucking ugly. Now, mind you, this is what Felicia Day looked like in her youth, early in her career. And then some when she got older, around the time that she founded Geek and Sundry, the YouTube channel. And then another one for during the time of that, like, aging up. Where she went from woman doing actress roles and doing spots and bits and gags and random shit off the internet to becoming womp womp. And the question you have to ask yourself is it because it's no makeup? Is it because she's in her home? Because if you look at the headline, this says Buffy the Vampire Slayer actress Felicia Day claims the LA riots are mostly peaceful protests and are a manufactured crisis. But that can't be the case. Don't worry, we're getting to the reason why I'm presenting all this to you. But then when you look deeper and deeper and deeper, the thing that was very obvious to me as I started looking through the images is that you can't say that this is because of age. Like, there was an entire period of time, I believe like right after COVID, where she somehow either inseminated herself by going to a fertility clinic, or had sex with somebody, caught some dick from somebody, and caught the pregnancy bug, and hid a whole secret baby until it was time for her to pop, and then had said daughter, and she was still mildly attractive. Like, to bounce off of what Alex is saying, she unironically looked like a prime Lilith out of Borderlands 1 and 2. She was not an ugly person. No time when she was making The Guild, no time when she was on Sci-Fi, no time when she was on WB/the CW concerning Supernatural, none of the products that she's ever appeared in, including shit that she did with people like Neil Patrick Harris, the Dr. Horrible, Dr. Terrible, Dr. Horrible sing-along, and other shit like that. At no point in time was she fucking ugly. And somehow, she truly transmogrified into Lilith from Borderlands 4. And mind you, that actress is extremely attractive. At least to me. But I'm biased, because I like white women. But there's no fucking world where you can tell me that this fucking homunculi is anything approachable to these 5 versions of the same woman in the past. Truly, this is the unmitigated shitlib on the female psyche living out of California. I don't know how the fuck it happens, bro. I don't know how the fuck it happens. However, working even further backwards, I also had a post that went maybe like semi-up, at least in terms of my numbers, concerning people like stupid-ass Paul Tassi. And then, this shit, which went like semi-viral for me, passing around just a little bit. Let's address this first one first. Paul Tassi and his retarded-ass opinions. It's easy to push back on this, but when the woke debates consume literally an entire online market campaign that can be in fact damning, yes, Asmongold trashing something does actually matter, like it or not. Not you should cater to that, but it's where we are. Or quote from Daniel Friedman, despite all the BioWare higher-ups that he talked to, he intentionally missed the story. The game failed because it was defined in the minds of the audience. Period. While I'm sure making videos is a lowering point, the reality is that most people consume content that reinforces what they already believe. There are people who adamantly defend woke games and nobody watches them because those ideas and viewpoints are inherently unpopular. The term influencer exists for a reason. People like you or Rogan are not whoever also shape views on topics, not just acting as a mirror. On top of that, negative content gets X times the attention as positive, which applies to the whole anti-woke industry and why it's so successful. But this comes right off the fucking backs of the dumbass shit that was said by people such as Paul Tassi, which is inherently cope when you think about it the long way around. By that I mean, in Paul Tassi and his infinite wisdom, or lack thereof, Paul Tassi believes that the only way that things happen is that I put content in front of you all, and then you all just take my opinion and absorb them without being able to assess them yourself. And then I not do further investigation to find the deeper thought and the deeper meaning by going a step further for the curiosity of knowing whether or not a thing that is being said is true. Which then led to this reply. Or rather, my reply. If Asmongold, Kirschverstalt, and others were the minority, why is the majority of you always constantly losing? Because off the back of this, there was an article that was written by Jason Schreier where he basically had to admit Dragon Age Veil was... Dragon Age the Veil Guard was dog shit. And that all that fucking talking he was doing, all that bluster, all that cooping and season, when he said things such as, this game is bad, but I love seeing you people, I love seeing you guys lose your mind against woke shit. He had to admit that the woke shit does not fucking sell. You do nothing but whine and complain about first world magnitude problems, and then you claim irrelevance that has no power, but they're also literally Hitler, which is the fallacy of both strong and weak. Shut up, Shrant. Them acting like a fucking nonce and a dumbass about it. Because he doesn't want to admit, actually, they're really bad at communication, and they're also really stupid. Paul Tassi, in his infinite wisdom, believes that the best thing that he can do with his time is to try to talk shit out of pocket about video games like The First Descendant while actively demonstrating that he doesn't actually understand the culture and that he doesn't actually play them. Buying a character just so he can make a throwaway tweet complaining about the sexy skins, but not having a single thing to say about the video game itself. Nobody cares about that. No one's going to give energy to that. And they would much rather laugh at him. I clicked my likes again. They would much rather laugh at him than give him the air and space to act like a fucking idiot. But these are having gone back further enough in the past. That then slowly brings us to the point of why I made this pivot. There are some other things of note in there that I've talked about. I, for example, showed off some of the loot that I'm finding inside of Path of Exile 2, now that my build's pretty much blowing off to the stratosphere. There was this post where I demonstrated something about Splitgate 2 from people trying to cope about Splitgate 2 and its optional cosmetics, with people complaining saying that the game charges money for pay-to-win blueprints annually. Why are people getting on this guy's fucking helmet? And I explained that the reason why people are getting onto him is that Splitgate 2 wants to go on stage and tell people, hey, I'm different, I'm out of the pack, I know what I'm talking about, me know what I'm saying. When obviously, that's just fucking cope. Because the reason why this game is struggling is that it's got problems like this. You've got Halo Legends and other movement game legends effectively shitting on entire lobbies full of players because they don't have the time, the energy, the effort in a game that is meant not to be a fucking sweat sesh, but a casual game experience. Actively exploiting talents and skills that you could arguably say they should learn how to use over time anyways. But in a game that's supposed to be a capture the flag system, as there have been many games during Summer Games Fest, including that one that was like capture the flag in the 70s, flag down, or flag that, they aren't able to take advantage of this knowledge about Titanfall, Titanfall 2, and other such video games that would take place in that same universe, like Apex Legends, simply because they don't have the time to do this. This is a very casual experience for very casual players. And those players, they don't want to play in this environment where they're being expected to do, like, fucking homework. To be able to have the opportunity to be able to play a game that's meant to be accessible. It's basically the Guns the Duel situation. You got a game with what could be considered very, very... how do we best place it? Yes, he was the clown that made the Titanfall 3 shit, and that should be relevant to you because that thumbnail that I used for that live stream for the Yappin was based on something that was very obvious to any person who knew what the fuck was going on there. More about that in a second. But it's an experience where a new game comes out, you want to play it, on day one, there are already sweats. This is the reason why when I tried, and I picked up, and I played Strinova, I didn't play it again since then. Because it was full of players actively selling matches and playing dog shit because they were refusing to work with other people. Because in their minds, I've already played this game 50 billion times, but the normal player coming in hasn't. Now, Pip, you say that's not doing homework, that's just doing basic physics. Here's the problem. People are joining in and jumping in for a game experience. And I'm one that's of this opinion that if a person is playing a video game for the first time, they should not be expected to jump into a lobby full of ba-da-ba-dum. There's the first connection. There's the first disconnection of the thing. Anyways, let me see if Fun OK's VODs are still here. They might have changed. But no, there's multiple things about it. But I want specifically Deadlock. You've got players such as pros making non-stop content about a game that's not open to the public. Deadlock Beginner Movement Guide. How to play characters that haven't been released yet in a game that's not publicly made yet. Deadlocked. Deadlock. Meta. A deadlocked meta report for a game that's not publicly made yet. You've got players trying to take advantage of the fact that they were early onboarders. Effectively, what you could say on the long way around is them making the guides and content. Because I remember, I was one of them in Guns the Duel that was helping people learn how to play K-Style. You have players that are hearing about a game that may come out at some point in the future who are expected to have years of experience on day one with what the meta is, which is the reason why people have left games like Diablo 4 to go play things like Exile 1 and 2. Because the game's solved on day one. There's no experimentation. There is no learning. It's either you do exactly this or you're banned out of my lobby. It's either this or breaker on my ship or I kick you out my lobby. It's the shit that was happening inside of Helldivers. This is not a good game experience to have. Like, at all. Ever. Now, it's functional because in the inclusion in an interim of games such as Fortnite, especially including the no-build mode, for those that just simply want to jump onto a game, have a battle royale that gives them the ability to use all these things to their potential and really get crazy with it. It's not like the days when it was PUBG and the days when it was Rust and the days when it was early Apex Legends and so on and so on. People can at least take the time to learn and really get involved and be engaged. However, this is the world of difference between, well, I'm not supposed to be this good out of the gate. It's progress, not perfection, versus literally there are 100 top 10s of the top 10s out of the game's existence, just like the finals. Players actively selling lobbies and selling matches because, well, the broken build has already been decided, because nobody wants to experiment. This is bad for development. The other reason why that was important is that people who paid attention to my thumbnail for the last Yappin', you might have noticed that I have put a specific frame of things there. Lives, Carl. You would have remembered that I put a specific frame of things there. And the reason why I put that frame of things there is that what I put on that frame was my dissertation of that entire event. And by that, I mean I made an extra tab. YouTube. Thumbnail. The live. That thumbnail was a dissertation about the nature of the experience that that guy effectively was making. This is too big. Transform this smaller. He goes on stage. He effectively says, fuck the culture. Fuck the video games. I want real good games back. Make FPS great again. Look inside. It's the exact same monetization schemes as everything else inside the industry that he's trying to criticize. No different. No different than the people he's trying to criticize. That entire state of things is toxic to incoming players. It makes me, and I hope other people, not want to necessarily play the game. Because they're not getting an experience that allows them to truly get involved with shit. Now, of course, it doesn't always have to be this way. But that's a pretty bad thing to have, where you've got people basically not wanting to get involved. This was one reason. The other reason why is because I noted that there was going to be an obvious Shankar boiling point. So, let me read what I posted, because I was going to make this into a short. Making this into an animated short with me looking at this and pointing at my shit and going like, oh, what did Carl mean? Like, you know, shit like that. He's now at the Adi Shankar boiling point. The problem just isn't just $70 optional cosmetics. It's people flying around the map, killing players who have no access / proximity to learning a niche talent that then makes the game unfun because of casuals and sweats. Mecha Break is modding you. And it's possible that this concept applies in any game. Because there's always going to be elitists, there's always going to be tourists, there's always going to be weekend warriors, there's always going to be free players, and there's always going to be little Timmies that get access to the game on the weekend who are getting a worldwide demonstration of welcome to the video game. As they then get monolocked and then whopped again and again and again and again by players like myself, and then helped to made better by players like myself and Boster. However, this is a gameplay experience that nobody wants to be involved in because players have demonstrated over time they do not want to play in an environment where they are getting fucked over by an executive that doesn't understand that this shit doesn't really help sell. And example B of why that is, as we can see from the window, is that he then walked the statement back. He apologized. Multiple other people telling him, why are you apologizing to the keyboard warriors? Who are you doing this for? The core audience that should be like those like Pip and Yan would tell him, why apologize? This is what they want. And this is ultimately the reason. It was a publicity stunt. He didn't really believe the shit he was saying. He was reading what he was told to say off the card by either his ad by committee team or by the intern he got the idea from. He wasn't literally living with it. So, why? Why even do it? Why even bother? Why even try? Which would piss people like myself off. Not because I put stock in what he said, but okay, this is his stance. Oh, it's not his stance? He's just a bitch? He's just doing it for attention and money? Nah, I'm good. Thousands of dollars that I could spend potentially on anything in the alternate dimension where I have that much money. And in this one where I have a little bit of money, when I have said opportunity, why would I go and pay for the optional cosmetics of Splitgate when I can instead pay the exact same amount of dosh, but I intend to pay less than that by getting a copy for those games? Why would I pay that money when I could pay less than that and instead get a whole single-player video game in the form of the Dark Ages? What's going to be the breakpoint for that? Like, it's not even selling out, bro. It's literally just being an open-face, like, toilet mouthpiece. 100%. Thank you, Suwin. We're on the same page. Like, it's annoying. So, if you remember, when we heard about the Haunting of the Here Tale, Haunting of the Here Tale developer, remember when we were playing the beginnings of Ratchet & Clank 1 as we were going through the quadrilogy as sponsored by Alex and his wallet? Remember when that guy was trying to talk to that dev on behalf of me and tell him that people like me aren't representative of the audience that he should be selling his game to, and I said word for word to that developer, I want you to make your game and be serious. Remember when I did that? And then I crashed out on that motherfucker live on air? The motherfucker was not the developer. The motherfucker was the guy who was trying to be annoying, trying to tell him that he should ignore the people like myself and try to pander to as many people as possible. Something that the dev themselves didn't even agree with, because he then defended my position and said, I want something that's more enlightening. I want something that's more down to earth. I want a creator who's in touch with his product, not just a person who's trying to be a sellout, trying to sell me something. And he's being an actual businessman who cares about his product and how it performs. That's what I was talking about! That exact energy! The same way that I can interact with other people. I was sick for 3 days straight. I had no Carl to entertain me. I'm sorry, horror. I was technically a little bit under the weather while working on my editing too. Star's trying not to get me sick. Also, internet. I tried, and I've been putting out and slowly preparing to put out edited videos. It's just that some of them were not done ahead of time. So there are at least so far one, and some shorts that'll be coming down the line. I'm gonna make up for it, don't you worry, baby. Hugs, kisses, smooches. Should slap the shit out of me, I swear to God. I can feel the heat on my face. I can feel the slap. Anyways. Don't you touch me with your slur. Don't you touch me with your niggly lips, boy. See, this is what she's been missing, chat. This is what she's been missing. This is what she's been missing. It hits you with the N-word laugh. I hope you just saw what I tagged you inside of in my server. I should. I have to assume that I'm looking inside of general. Yes. Date everything. Yes, I've seen this game. You're going to stream the demo of Date Everything tomorrow morning. I heard that there are some famous voice actors inside of that are voicing things that you wouldn't expect. That's cool. But, yeah. The same way that I communicated with that developer, and the same way that I communicated back and forth with Alex when he put forth the idea, when we were still in the middle of coming towards the roundabout back end of, the Bayou video game, South of Midnight. That's the same energy that I want developers to be able to carry themselves with. That they're not just doing shit for the bit of trying to, like, get as much virality and much attention as possible, and then walking the shit back when they believe they got a monetary benefit out of it to try and appease a group of people that otherwise would not care about them. I'm all about about that crossover and about that direct access reach. I'm meant to, and I'm still selling myself as one of the most accessible, if not the most accessible influencer on the internet. Because if you talk to me, I'm gonna talk back. And on that note, I have some things coming down the pipeline about that, but I can't tell y'all about it until they physically metastasize in front of me. But know that I've got some things coming down the pipeline in August. I've been talking to people. However, what I bring you to notice for, as I brought you through that timeline, was this one right here. Right here, when you said, and we're talking about the state of shit, there's some shit happening in California, right? And there were creators such as this one, Cypher J, who makes blackmail checkpoints, who basically was doing social agitation about that concerning the riots. So, there has been a lot of narrative warfare that's being done about the riots, and I noted that a lot of the people that are probably not even discovered, or some of the people that are known, like Kirsch, probably don't even know that people are doing work like this. There are people who are outright admitting that they want to do narrative warfare, as he will explain, for the purposes of trying to manipulate people into having a certain viewpoint. I'm turning the music off so that you can hear this directly.
So we're going to talk about the situation in LA right now. If you can't get on the ground, if you can't go protest, you can't do none of that, here's what we're going to do. We're going to engage in narrative warfare. We need narrative warfare for this to go right at all. Because when the city rises, when the streets flood, windows break, voice thunders, right? All that happens, it feels like we're winning. Remember this. Surveillance sees the crowd. The state sees patterns. The algorithm sees content. The moment of rage can become someone else's marketing campaign real quick, or even worse, your downfall. So here's what you'll need to get this thing. They don't need to beat the movement, just need to brand it before we do. The energy is a match, but the victory is achieving a controlled burn of the situation. Right now in LA, the rage is real, okay. The injustice is real, okay. But who's documenting the demands? Who's capturing the why of it before the media invents their version? Narrative warfare means that we get to rewrite the myth before they assign any other blame. So we got to document with precision. Every action, frame it with clarity. Avoid lone heroes because they're going to take them. They'll name one target and build network. They'll name one target and build networks to take them. So we need to build networks. Assign roles, protester, witness, healer, strategist, recorder, protector, all that. And we need to protect this the narrative command center like it's your life's work, because this is a major factor. It is your life's work in this case. Every camera pointed at you is a potential weapon or a weapon you take back. You got two choices in this conversation. And here's what will happen, because I need y'all to know this. It is literally textbook. They will embed agents to throw the first Molotov, film it, upload it, and let America write the ending. Don't take the bait. Don't do it, because I'm telling you, they're going to do it. Every overreaction becomes a headline. Every misstep becomes a justification. Every act of community defense will be framed as chaos if we don't frame it first. They want the image of a riot, not the reason for the rage. So here's how we need to use it for us, okay? We need to set the stage now, right? Any storytellers, I'm telling you, TikTokers, IGers, I don't care. There's money on the table for this one. Not necessarily for me, just on the platform in general. We need storytellers on the ground, online, in the DMs, talking amongst themselves. The story must be preserved amongst ourselves. Then emotional truth needs to inoculate somebody. It needs to literally catch them. Say the names. Show the faces. Teach the history. Anchor the moment. It needs to feel rooted, but also pre-state label responses. We know they're gonna call it looting. We just need to call it extractive grief, right? That's all we need to call it that first. We know they'll claim safety. We just need to call it as militarized peace, because that's what it is. Right? We need to control the rhythm deeper than they can push a narrative. Don't speak only in response. Issue your own briefings, your own visuals, your own declarations in relation to this. Narrative warfare must be fierce, because when the people write the truth, the state has to fight the lie. This is a moment, but not a movement. Unless we can shape the story, truly, it will die in headlines and hashtags. Truly, this will not go well if we don't get narrative warfare to go well. So anybody who's committed to this kind of thing and is sitting at home cheering, you have a whole job to do. And it just can't be one person. I'm telling you, this is the way this is the biggest fight of every little thing. Whenever somebody gets on the ground, is a lack of narrative warfare.
This and people making content like this have been responsible for so much of what people see and hear when it comes to platforms like TikTok And yes, I know that I'm suppressed hard as hell, Moon. This is why I keep telling people to get involved with process. But, you know, you guys are your own people. You choose to do things in your own time. I can't expect everybody to carry my torch. Growth is required. But this is only one half of a greater whole. He made 2 videos. The second one's even longer.
These are LA's win conditions. That's it. So any municipal breakaways. Glendale just canceled its ICE contract. That's precedent because every city that follows turns protests into a policy cascade. So the goal is just to turn LA into the first domino, and it puts public pressure on Santa Ana, Long Beach, etc. to follow suit. The second win condition is any public moral awakening. NPR time to finally portraying protesters as concerned citizens and not just rioters. The goal is just to keep centering family stories, detain workers, union arrests, and make the morality too heavy to ignore because the public is starting to distinguish between federal cruelty and local compassion. The third win condition is lawsuits and oversight. So California's AG, their Attorney General Rob Bonta, just sued over unauthorized federal enforcement, right? Back this lawsuit with mass mobilization. This turns any narrative into legal leverage, but also cross-city solidarity. So San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, Houston, they all had their spin-off protests. If a synchronizing message emerges out of this, 5 to 7 cities chanting the same demand at the same time, it'll overwhelm the federal media control immediately. But there's key risks. And we're gonna go through those too. There is currently no unified demand. In the raids is vague. That is not gonna work. Protect sanctuary cities by law. That's a little better. Abolish ICE is polarizing. We need to be concerned about the message. Movements without demands become media spectacles without memory. Any rally that is behind winnable asks like emergency citywide ICE moratorium, that's a way to fix that. That's the way to rally behind that, because that's something better to say than in the raids. Emergency citywide ICE moratorium. See what I mean? Get that narrative together. Then here's our other risk. Violent optics do persist. Like really bad. Burning cars, highway blocks, tactical gear versus flag bearers. The medium turns the just cause into a chaotic image of fear and disruption. So visual peace with narrative cohesion is necessary, right? Narrative precision, visual peace, protest art, grandmothers on the front lines, cultural symbols of peace. There's a way things need to look. This is what I mean by the narrative warfare.
Effectively, halfway through this, in inclusion to the other post, this entire presentation by this content creator is actively demonstrating to you time and 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 time again what I've shown you all week after week, content after content. Don't feel bad, Vasco. Some people didn't know if they had me followed or not, because on the second account they probably weren't, because they were only looking at the first account. The first account got hacked. It's completely fine. This is literally proof positive. The shit that I say in my content, the shit that I say in some of my appearances when I'm talking about shit, and the background of the information that you need to know that you're not seeing at the same time. This is the conversation that's being had over on places such as TikTok. Now, I'm going to show you what this guy does for content, because he's supposed to be speaking to people like me. And unfortunately, as a forever hater of FT Signifier, I am representative of exactly the other side of this guy's coin. Like, this content creator right here and I are 2 sides of the opposite coin. I'm going to let him finish, but I need to pop in here and show you this is what I've been talking about. When you worry about why is it that my shit gets buried on the platforms, these are the people who I have to compete against. These are the people who I'm dealing with. These are the people who I'm competing against. Really hard to beat motherfuckers that are fucking platformed by literal hate monger and fear mongering. And why don't you talk about the black struggle? Because it's not a black struggle. It's literally being told to do propaganda. Like, literally being told to do propaganda. With the intention of getting people to follow a movement that they otherwise cannot prove is actually peaceful. Because they say we need to do things out of peace, and we have to do things out of reason, like this, reason A, reason B, reason C, reason D. And it's literally, guys, we need to be smart about how we do terrorism. Like, we need to protest, and we need to make sure that your grandma is up front getting tear gassed, because it'll make the movement look better. On one side of the aisle, you've got Taylor Lorenz, and you've got Hassan Piker showing up someplace, actively LARPing. And then after having a long, hard day of doing war reporting on the streets of LA, Hassan takes his ass back to his house to enjoy Ice Queen, as a tweet for going out amongst the people and cosplaying as a revolutionary. Meanwhile, while I'm inside playing video games and talking about head-ass topics that may or may not be important, on the other side of the aisle, when I'm sitting here in the dark doing my study work, going through the VODs, going through the research, and looking up events like this, motherfuckers like this are the people who I have to compete my content against on every platform. And boy, it's hard to fight a propagandist when they're at this level. Let's continue listening, shall we? I clicked the button.
But here's another thing. So Trump frames the protest before the protest framing itself is a major risk. He's already calling it an uprising, open border insurrection, and seditious. So they see that as a test of strength, not justice. So if the story is about control, he wins. So the only way out of that kind of thing is to reclaim the stage. Publicly framing it as a moral emergency, not even a political one. Turn this into the next George Floyd level infliction by showing its human stakes, legal violations, and constitutional breach. Now here's one of those things I want to say to black people. Our grief has already been militarized. They've already targeted us enough. We don't need to send our support, like physically, on the ground. No. But they will come for us with this method. This is very key to watch. Very key to watch and to document. Please pay attention here. This is not, like, even though the stay out of his side is what I agree on, it is important to document what their tactics look like. It really is. But here's the other risk. Any type of movement fragmentation. Because without visible leadership or a unified communication, even internal allies are unsure what just even comes next out of this. So local energy won't translate into national momentum. We need a rotating spokesperson, like faith leaders, union reps, dreamers, just any morning brief. Just open up. You don't need permission. Just open up in the morning, just talking about the situation yourself. It doesn't even matter if it has views. We need documentation. That's the big thing. This literally needs to be psychological jujitsu. We need to use their spectacle against them, humanize faster than they can militarize, and render the invisible visible in this case.
I don't know if I can say it any better myself, but I'm gonna try. You guys know when I try to push super hard to get you guys to engage in, like, for fun shit, this is what it looks like when somebody does that in terms of militarizing for a movement. And the logistics of the propaganda and the active intention to set you up the bomb. This is what that looks like if I were to do that in terms of, like, a national movement. Most of the time, I just do it simply trying to get you guys to play video games together. But this is what it looks like when a person, as he described, tries to humanize a riot faster than normal people can take note of what's happening in said riot. Which, let's take a knee real quick. Click to my likes again. This speaks to this. I covered this one earlier. This is from the riots that are happening on the street. There are people out in the middle of cars. This guy, everybody's find out who he is. He's been labeled as what do they call him? Smug soy boy leftist. They found out everything they can about this guy and the other people who are here. These are the shit libs. These are the liberals that live in the state. Can I wrap my hand all the way around here? No, I gotta go all the way back. Sad. But, no, actually, I'll do it like this. This guy in green. This guy is the representation of exactly what people are seeing on the ground in terms of assholes and in terms of political activists, not accounting for people like Greta Thunberg, who was already sent back on a plane. This is the view to which people are learning about the riots happening inside of LA. They are watching normal citizens getting interrupted and then accosted by these protesters blocking traffic. Actively mocking people, trying to do the day-to-day process to get to where they need to go. To work, to the store, to emergencies. And they're saying, "Aw, not work. Aw, you're going to be forced to not go to work." And actively mocking the fact that the people that they want to monetize are directly affected by their fucking antics. Hoping that people will just simply give up and not try. And people are actively fighting back against it. Because the emotional narrative... Boo-doo-boo-doom. Thank you, man. I appreciate the $55. See, I'm just exhausted and I'm talking, so that didn't sound as emotional as it should have sounded. Clearly, I should say something more like, "I'm gonna suck your dick." But anyways, at the same energy that he's telling people that you need to humanize faster they can militarize, people are just looking at the situation on the ground as it is, in the context of where it's happening, and it's much like the last Soy Moy McCuckface. Where, you know, the guy that did the fucking roundhouse kick when he attacked that pregnant worker. People are seeing this, and then they're hearing this, and they're just outright fucking confused. Like, it's far beyond bad advice, bad tactics, but they're saying it publicly, and people are behind it because there's that many people, because it's TikTok, left-wing app, female-coded, led by shitlibs, and progressives, and liberals. The sheer chutzpah of telling people that they should put their energy behind this type of propaganda and not realizing that everybody else seeing this out of the Hugbox bubble are going to be very concerned. So when you mention, Moon, that I'm super hell restricted, yeah, of course I am. I choose not to play into delusion. I'm not using my skin to buy investment. I'm not tricking you to come into my house and not power level myself to then get you to give me money and energy. Like, the amount of energy people are putting behind creators like this is the reason why things are going the way that it is. In order to combat that, we must make the Carl Industrial Complex bigger. We must increase the size of the Carl Industrial Complex. And only then, when I show up talking to people like Kirsch on camera at a panel, shitposting between myself and several other people, then and only then will we truly be able to beat that fucking line. Because that's unfortunately how shit on the internet works. We'll talk more about that in a second. But let's finish listening to this guy, because we got a lot of more clips to look at. Because technically the point of this stream is that I'm supposed to be creating the challenge clip from the Dare Drop. But I'll talk about that when I'm done talking about all the things that are basically narrative catch-up. Because I'm playing catch-up of all the shit that I would have talked about this week had I properly had my news days. So, let's pick back up at that 2:17 mark.
The messaging also needs to be a lot stronger, because they needs to be like, we're not radicals, we are mothers, workers, neighbors, trying to protect our homes from the federal aggression, and you don't need to agree with our politics to see that our humanity is being violated. That's real. That's real, right? Because we need to stay in an anchor place. This is about LA, not DC. Okay, emotion over ideology. Center immigrant stories, children's drawings, elders testifying, and literally frame ICE as an uninvited foreign force in a city that never gave consent. We're at war with the camera. That's what I'm trying to get y'all to get. I'm trying to get y'all to get it. We're at war with the camera. It has nothing to do with anything going on over there. It's not even in the best spot. Like the whole riot. Not even in the best spot. But the camera's vulnerable. So, Any public altars for detained families, candlelight visuals overpowering riot gear, important. Any mothers in prayer circles versus soldiers, a haunting inversion, important. Any legal observers in neon vests, non-violence made hyper-visible, important. Drone footage of peaceful marchers being surrounded to trap the state in its own excess. That's the way to do this, right? The thing is that people got to understand that we also have to have a refusal to flinch. So his whole game is to escalate until we react destructively. That's basically the whole game. So win at this game. Disciplined silence at tense moments. Refusing to chant when cameras arrive. Making protesters look more trustworthy than the people in uniform. All of that actually matters in causing a narrative breakthrough. See, but this is what victory conditions actually look like. And it's not going to be found in the cheering. No, nothing like that. But this is my scorecard on the event. It's a very tangible one. I would give it. This is not the most ideal event ever. It's just enough energy behind it to get it cooking.
Ultimately, these two videos of propaganda from CypherJ is him posting a scorecard and a report card. The same way that myself and Devin and any content creator that does video games can give a scorecard about the Summer Games Fest, which I'll talk about my scorecard after we've watched the content that is going to go live tomorrow. And I think also Saturday. If not today. 13th, 14th. Brain cells. Check very quickly. Attack the minorities, the corporate safe. Yeah. All that's tomorrow. Or at least I scheduled it. So one's early in the morning, and the one's in the middle of the day, and another one's blah, 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 blah. Because these are the events that I didn't watch live. Because I had prioritized the emotional bid where I needed to see her. We'll talk about the scorecard after I've watched these, at least minimum 2 events. The directs, and then we'll have the VA2 casting showcase, because I'm morbidly curious in what the Death Stranding cast has to say about their work. This, from this content creator, is the militarized scorecard for how you should get involved in activism. So, the same way that I could ask people to try and get involved and put their energy behind things like the Dare Drop campaigns, when I go live on Twitter, when I go live on Twitch, when I go live on YouTube, for the purposes of building up the concurrent viewers of Twitch so that I can have the ability to bring you free loot and free swag from video games, which I did make a post about the other day. It was more centered for the purposes of informing people from Geistwind, but it also serves a benefit for those of you that are new here to know how I do things whenever I do Dare Drops, to get them involved as well. This is the same level of what it looks like when the left does it. This is what it looks like when activistic people and talking points and talking heads from the left do what I do, but then do it poorly. Because he's only concerned about the Wonder Waffle that is getting this event off the ground, where they can catch fire and spark this up, where he uses the incentivization of terrorism, because it's terrorism, if we're being serious. He just gave perfect pieces of how to turn terrorism into propaganda for the movement on the ground. He takes this and then uses the social proof and the credit that he earns and gets from doing this to then get you to listen to the normal content he makes. Because here, when I was asked by the Gator Gamer about what the fuck a blackmail checkpoint is, this guy is pro-black everything. He is short form FD signifier. Those of you who know me and OJ know that we react and do not like the content of FD signifier. He is the, quote, black Uncle Iroh who has a bunch of shit to tell you about black struggle and black history as an educator, but can't tell you a goddamn thing that's happening on the ground, because he doesn't care. He's just now fast approaching, if not already arrived there, a 1 million figure YouTuber who exists to say back to you what you want to hear. In the case of Signifier, he wants to antagonize conservatives, and he wants to make fun of them, while at the same time giving you just enough bread and circuses to be entertained with his non-stop talking points about a bunch of bullshit that means nothing in the zeitgeist of the commentary he chooses to write. He is effectively a black video essayist for Cornbread Tube and BreadTube and the Nebula niggas, and is irrelevant past that. But there are people who go to him should they want to learn something about political movements. Meanwhile, Cypher J is a pro-black philosophy and black folk-centered content creator who designs his video in short form about how you as black men and women have to change yourself to fit in with white culture within proximity to white people and their lives. It's content that sounds good, and at certain times it does have a point that speaks to a level of truth, just like any kind of truth that comes from a person who's talking about how they have to navigate two different worlds and code switch between them would have relevance. But it's the most gay and homosexual and unserious shit ever fucking put to the goddamn video note. Because he does it from a position where you clearly have to believe in black separatism in order for you to even accept it. So I chose some key clips. There are plenty. There are plenty. And yes, he does indeed love George Floyd, Alex. There are plenty that I could use to reference, but I could only pick 4. So I picked some of the strongest, dog shittest opinions that he had. Let's listen to some of them.
The cookout is closed. We got to talk about fake allies right now. Because gingers were offered inclusion without any grief. They were offered a seat at the table based on their whiteness being mocked, not wounded. There's a difference between being teased and being spiritually dismembered. Outright. They didn't process suffering. They imitated survival. They thought being black meant swagger, rhythm, and lingo, not grief, resilience,
Dog.
and inheritance. That's why they performed instead of witness. They entered a sacred space. If they entered a sacred space with reverence, I wouldn't have no problems. They entered it with TikTok mimicry, and that was what was always coming because they was never on. They wasn't in the conditions. They wasn't in the conditions. The invitation was coming from a burnout place because I get it, right? I get it. Y'all can have some of this suffering if y'all want. I get it. But that spiritual exhaustion left no emotional container for the chaos it invited. But there are some white groups who are doable, right? If we invite them with more depth, more care, right, metabolization, we might get the job done. The poor Appalachian whites, culturally mocked, economically erased, their trauma isn't curated, it's buried. If we invite them with actual thoughtfulness, they might come with humility and not a dance, and not a joke, right? Working class, culturally observant Jewish Americans, they have deep historical grief, generational loss, spiritual ritual, and the tension of proximity to whiteness. They know what memory costs. Many would recognize the invitation as a grief call, not a costume. Then, class struggle aware queer white people, right? They know performance as survival, but also they know marginalization, rejection, and loss. They understand how safety is sold in exchange for belonging. They might take an invite, right, to actually mirror what's going on, to understand, to see, not mimic, right? Outside of the elite performance culture, any neurodivergent white creators, right, often spiritually displaced, mocked, and looped for identity distortion and control narratives. Some carry authentic dreams and fantasies, and they hold all the memories. Some really could think. They'd rather build a new language than mimic somebody else's, right? That kind of thing. So people don't understand that you just can't pick a group. Both groups have to be processing something real at the same time. That's just kind of how it has to work. We're also going to talk about this some more directly in the next post because we need to go through the fake allies that we can't bring in. Actually, some of them already here. We might go on a purge.
So, first post. Everybody who remembers the jokes that were going around about gingers now being considered NIGG blank expletive word removed, that was a joke going around where gingers, because if you are a dyslexic racist, you would confuse them for African Americans, quote, capital B, black people. There was a joke going around that they were accepted to the cookout, simply by nature of being mocked, antagonized, and understanding the struggle of what it means to code switch between two different types of culture. But as he described, it was not an inclusion based on relative struggle. It was a sham. It was a shuck and jive. It was an inclusion by teasing. where it was always a perpetual meme that instead of being treated like it was a throwaway joke that did not live with you, it was a permanent drama and problem that people chose to metastasize and live inside of. And instead of recognizing that the cookout is belonging to people who need to understand what it means like to be inside of a culture and a camaraderie with each other by actually communing with each other, not just being a thing to take advantage of when a person can decide, well, this benefits me, so I'm going to use it. This doesn't benefit me, so I'm not going to use it. And you treat this to the point of people, where you then approach the opinions that he has about the protests and using them as optics to grow himself and his movement. People like myself could recognize what he's trying to speak about at a distance because, hey, he too is forever lost in the circles. But unlike Carl, this motherfucker is the one drawing the circles and encapsulating himself and his message in a very dismissive fashion. Where the only way to understand him is to effectively allow him to write the narrative for you. Because the words sound cool and they sound flashy, but they're fucking meaningless. They're empty. It's like a false hydra. Which then leads us to the second post.
People say I'm afraid of being seen, but that's not quite true. Most don't fear being visible, they fear being perceived. And not even the image, the soul underneath. Not the post, the silence that follows, and not even the outfit, the egg behind the smile. Because perception doesn't just look at you, it touches you. And some of us learned early that being touched meant being judged, controlled, desired, misunderstood, and left.
I'm gonna play that start again, because I hope some of y'all heard some of my classic fucking lines just now. I hope you heard it. Especially if you're a frequent Carl watcher. If you're not, this is probably going to be early days to you. Because, bro, Oppression Olympics doesn't even describe the shit that this motherfucker does. Listen to the start again.
People say I'm afraid of being seen, but that's not quite true. Most don't fear being visible, they fear being perceived. And not even the image, the soul underneath. Not the post, the silence that follows.
How many times have I said motherfuckers got a fear of being perceived? Boy, when I discovered this man's content, I was so happy. Because it now allows me to show you what it looks like when somebody else is trying to do single player Carl. Woo! Shit! I'm having me a time tonight, baby! I'm having me a time tonight!
Not even the outfit, the egg behind the smile. Because perception doesn't just look at you, it touches you. And some of us learned early that being touched meant being judged, controlled, desired, misunderstood, and left. So now, the body flinches when it's complimented, the mind braces when it's noticed, the heart tenses when someone gets too close.
Do not, I swear to fucking God, do not try to pin second player Carl. Oh my God. Okay? Okay, listen to me, chat, listen to me. That implies that he's on my team. This is not second player Carl. This is yet another interdimensional Carl, okay? This right here is my shadow. This right here is my shadow, okay? If I'm Sonic, this is Shadow, alright? Or technically, if we're being accurate, if I'm Shadow, he's Silver. It's not multiplayer Carl. It's more like second person Carl. This is what it looks like to hear the shit that I'm talking about from the perspective of somebody who's extremely on the left, okay?
Close visibility feels like a threat because in the past it was. People don't fear the light. They fear that the light will show something they can't control. That if someone sees too deeply, they'll walk away. Or worse, they'll stay and try to fix something. That was never broken, just unguarded. This isn't vanity, right? It's not insecurity either. It's the wound of being misnamed, of being seen wrong, of being read like a page out of context, of being perceived like through the lens of someone else's fear and then called it truth. But here's really the thing.
That part is especially important if you are familiar with people trying to go out of their way to frame something that I say or something that I explain as why bro talking, bro's yapping, what is blood yapping about? Right there.
Here's the thing that I want you to sit with. The fear of being seen is also the longing to be met. It's the soul asking, will someone ever see me and not flinch? Not critique, not claim, not consume, just witness. Right? Being perceived isn't dangerous. Being performed for is. Right? Being projected onto is. Being treated like a mirror, not a person, that's what hurt. So I'm not rushing anybody, right, who has this issue at all. Take your time. Like, you know, uncover slowly. Like let the presence rebuild what judgment dismantled. Right? That's the way you can think about it. Because the reality was that you were never too much. You were just always more. Right? More than what the person was ready to see. And that's a them issue.
Then this brings us to his second and third, well, his third post to be more exact based on what I did. But there are times where I have to ask myself, yeah, Stormcloak Carl can work. Let's go with Stormcloak Carl. If we're gonna add him to the cinematic Carl universe of my rogues gallery of fucking haters and collaborators, let's call him Stormcloak Color, okay? We're gonna call him Stormcloak Carl. In the greater Carl cinematic universe of people and their talking points, creators like this are the representation of what I sometimes asked myself, what would I become if I hadn't gone through the life struggles that I did to become who's currently standing here on the frame in all black, right? And the truth of the matter is, this is what people are getting from the left wing when it comes to their favorite content creators. When you think of people like Designifier, they're supposedly getting that motherfucker, but 50 years old. When you think of people like Shark03, Nega Carl, opposite Mirror Universe Carl, that's what you're getting if you took me and you allowed me to stay in the pain, in the hurt, and never learn the lessons that were necessary for me to move away from the left wing of the paradigm, and instead move in a direction towards the one that I actively went in. Now, if you get people like Xander Hall, Pig Puncher, Alexander, here's what happens if you were to take people with my disposition and basically bully the fuck out of them until they accepted being a part of the left wing, and then drove them crazy and mad with access to proximity through friends until you got him screaming, Cherry, Cherry, I want to attack her, Cherry. And so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. There are times I have actively sat here in the middle of the night following the pretty much gospel preaching that I did during that live stream for the 25v1 Jubilee, breaking down the religious takes and the narratives and the analyzation that could be done from that Jordan Peterson event. There are times where I asked myself, if I were to shuck and jive just a little bit harder, what would that have looked like? So understand, I was so fucking happy when I discovered this, not because I necessarily agree with every take and opinion that Cypher J has, but it is so fulfilling, chat. Chat, it is so fulfilling when I finally have perfect examples of the shit I'm talking about. If for no other reason that when Bloods be saying, what is bro yapping about, I can say this. This nigga right here. This is what I be yapping about. Let's get the second one in.
You didn't heal. You just got dressed and now your grief wears a tie and clocks in at 9 a.m. See, black excellence is just black exhaustion in a costume because you were told to be twice as good, but 5 times as tired. That's what they don't include in there. And now you sit at the table you bled to reach, still starving for rest. Respectability didn't protect you. It just made your trauma palatable to power. You're impressive, but you're not at peace. You're allowed in the room, but you don't feel safe. You got in the door, but you lost your breath fighting at the threshold. Performance is not wholeness. It's not. You have a morning routine, a polished voice, a curated presence, and when no one's watching, you fold quietly on the floor because no one taught you how to rest, only how to endure gracefully. You call it discipline, but your nervous system calls it captivity. Is that peace?
That entire phrase, when I caught it, that was the first video that I saw of this. So understand that on two sides of my brain, inside me, there were two Carls. One Carl understands the talking points of the left wing because he comes from a hyper-left Democratic family. The other side of his brain loves white women and is deeply, deeply bigoted, Carl said with gililth and joy in his heart. And so, on one side of myself, I think, actually, that describes me perfectly. I can't believe I'm finally recognized. And then outside of me, the other side of me is like, wait for me! Don't you trust that lie! Don't you trust that lie! That is a lie! And now, for all the other people who have ever watched my content, especially if you're an old fan, and probably more relevant to people who came from the time period which Alex is in, for the new fans, this is quite literally, like, frankly, everything that I've ever said. But where I like to go into detail, this motherfucker has perfectly packaged it for you to truly accept it as a fucking piecemeal of fast food. Woke consciousness fast food. That's what this guy is selling you. And it's fucked up. Because it works. You should see the numbers he puts up on TikTok. It works. Because people will eat this shit up like fucking hotcakes.
Is that peace? Because that's not what I'm hearing is achieved. And here's the thing. We have this lie of the world to put together one. You're the one who makes it look easy. The one they admire, the blueprint, the calm. But inside you're burning and no one brings water. And because they think the fire is your power set. You've become their idea of healing. While your soul files all the noise complaints. All of them. All of them. Respectability is not a refuge. Respectability is not a refuge. Your degrees didn't protect your softness. Your manners didn't protect your spirit. Your suit didn't shield your body from systemic exhaustion. None of those things happened. So now you're in the meeting with your back straight and your smile tight and your voice measured, but the child in you is still screaming in the coat closet of your chest because nothing about being respectable ever made you whole. So this world didn't want you healed, they wanted you useful. So now you become functional in your pain, presentable in your sorrow, dependable in your detachment. That's all that happens. That's all that happens. So as somebody who sees past your LinkedIn pages, when do you stop performing? And when are you gonna stop trying to survive somebody else's version of dignity? When are you gonna stop trying to survive somebody else's version of dignity? Because healing is not a look. I've covered it before, but it's important. It's a breath. It's a return to your softness, to yourself, to your presence, to stillness. That's what it is. That's what it is. So come out the suit. Come out of it. Because it wasn't black people who wanted you in there. And you never wanted yourself in there. I'm just saying. If you can't take nothing else from this message, take the fact that you deserve rest. And that should be a part of the dream.
So when I describe this as black male checkpoint, that is what I can truly be able to describe this as. Most of it is suited towards white allies and black individuals, where even he covers the angle of not all skin folk is kinfolk. But for me, it's less looking in the mirror, and it's more like looking in an alternate reality. And it is harrowing how I looked at it and did not flinch. Because part of my goals in my career is to make sure that people start seeing the shit that I'm talking about. Now, it's been improved slowly over time, because I used to be much worse about how I would summarize my points. Where a 3-hour live stream somehow required 12 hours. And it's just simply because of the fact that focusing things down and getting things tightened up required understanding how to understand my own message. I didn't truly understand what it is I was trying to discuss. Because when you're studying something and you're trying to define it, it's hard to find a textbook definition, especially if the textbook doesn't exist. So I was putting together the textbook of what effectively single player Carl was. And now that I have fully metastasized into that as a proper creator, armed with my encyclopedia of knowledge, I now have the ability to point out what shit is. But part of my job is also finding the physical material to put in front of you to give you a perfect example of the open shut case of what we're talking about. So let's get to video number 4.
A lot of black kids weren't raised by monsters. They were raised by the unhealed silence of tired people trying to outlive systems. And when that system yelled, when that silence yelled, we called it parenting. See, there's this wound beneath the voice of every black exhausted parent called exhausted authority. Because the black parent voice often carried thunder. Right? Right, it does. Exhausted authority absolutely carries thunder. But not because the child is dangerous, but because the parent has no space to be soft. So they end up not even yelling at you, but yelling through you because they've never been feel grades are survival. Clothes are
Boom. F boys. At least now the disconnections are happening shorter. I put in some calls to the people to make them fucking do their thing and fix my goddamn internet. So these things are being corrected slowly. However, I gotta rewind. We disconnected for a half second.
See, there's a difference between survival parenting and safe parenting. Many black parents weren't given the tools to nurture, only to protect. So when everything became a battlefield, grades are survival, clothes are respectability, talking back is threat detection, emotions are a luxury item. But the child wasn't fighting, they were feeling, and no one knew how to hold that. They taught you how to keep us alive, but not how to make us feel alive. That's the thing that's important, right? Because teaching your kid, or even teaching you how to keep your kid alive, how they can protect themselves, that doesn't teach them how to feel alive on a single day of their life. What the child learns from this is that love means fear. Because when parenting is mostly correction and command, children equate love with performance. I'll only be hugged if I achieve. They only speak when I mess up. I have to shrink so they can breathe. Right? This doesn't create obedience. It creates emotional exile. The child learns to how to behave, but never how to belong. And you know where it comes from? You know where it comes from? It comes from white fear and black pressure. Let's just name the systems. Schools that call CPS instead of parents are part of the problem. Police that turn mischief into mugshots, that's part of the problem. Neighborhoods that judge hair as a threat are part of the problem. White society that demands your child to act grown so their kids can stay innocent are part of the problem. This is what black parenting was fighting, because they need a 5-year-old to turn to a 50-year-old emotionally just so they can make it to 18. And in doing so, they sometimes pass the trauma forward, and instead of softening the child for the world, they harden the child for the world.
So, if those first 3 ones on the back of it may have possibly made you think, I don't know, Carl, he's talking some good knowledge. Please let the exemplification of how quickly he reached to condemn white people remind you that this is what you're dealing with, and that this is the energy behind those first 2 videos about why you need to take advantage of that you need to take advantage of optics to win a narrative war concerning Los Angeles and California as a whole. This is what died in the dirt proximity to power does when you're trying to get more clicks on the internet. And let us say a very solemn prayer that I never fell into this trap, trying to look for accessibility and for a positive feedback loop.
That's all that happens. So I got 2 things going on for both sides, because your pain is valid as the child. Your pain is valid. But and the silence wasn't your fault. You deserve gentleness even if your parent never got it. And to the parent, right, to the parent, because you aren't even wrong for being tired. You were wrong for thinking that the child should carry it with you. We don't heal this with shame. That's it. That's all I'm getting at. We don't heal this with shame. We heal it by grieving what both sides lost. If the fire went out, ask what you stopped feeding it with. The child who needed softness, that's how you gotta approach him. The parent who never got to feel safe enough to give it, that's what we need to talk about. Because until we name this wound, we'll keep calling survival parenting a virtue when it was always a symptom of a world that made peace impossible. That's all that's going to go on. That is literally the way to resolve this kind of thing. exhausted authority is a serious problem. It is, because it causes a lot of problems. And if you sit here with a case of exhausted authority, maybe you ain't never felt safe in a while. And maybe you weren't allowed to be soft as a child. But it absolutely was your responsibility today to choose something.
So, all in all, this is a segment that, once again, Carl was right! And now we have a face to put to some names. Yet another name added to the list of shame. It is exhaustive sometimes. But I hope you now recognize exactly how much work I do, chat, to protect you from fucking dumbass opinions. I hope you appreciate it now. And if you never did, I hope you get it in the future. It's an experience. It's an experience. It's an experience. Anyways. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your thank you, Carls. I appreciate it. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Why is this? Oh, no, that's why. That's right. Because I took like 20 minutes to turn on the other VOD sources. I'm stupid. So, assuming that I've gotten through everything I needed to update on, and maybe a couple of other things that I've posted inside of polls and announcements, as well as inside of Printing Press Express. Examples being the story about the YouTuber that was murdered on camera in a double homicide, both him and his wife, by another YouTuber, and that YouTuber is now waiting trial to go to jail for said crimes. Or the 10-minute rule bill that was being put forward in Europe from people such as Richard inside the Discord, or other happenings such as MatPat being in Washington, setting up a collaboration of the Creator Economy Caucus in the House of Representatives to try to get people involved with the process of legislation involving legislation in the internet age for the purposes of trying to understand the world of broadcasters, influencers, and YouTubers, let alone TikTokers, content creators of all stripes and walks of life. The real goal of today's stream was to put on a demonstration of the game I had to play. Did I see that there was an attempted sex trafficking caught on camera during the riots? I did not. Please post the article in case you haven't already, horror. Because there's some shit that I've missed by nature of who I've been doing work with. No, MatPat is not trying to censor the internet. No, Sidwin. He's not trying to censor the internet. What he's doing is he's actually presenting content where he's getting people involved so that people that are boomers inside of Congress and inside of the House of Representatives actually understand the world of our material. It's a clip from Kirsch. Cool. If you could pull that up really quick before we transition to the video game, that would be good, horror. Please, thank you. So, this is the full 19 and 46 second clip.
These are actually prescription sunglasses. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Congresswoman Yvette Clark, and I proudly represent New York's 9th Congressional District, located in Central and Southwest Brooklyn, and I also serve as chair of the Congressional Black Caucus for the 119th session of Congress. I'm happy to stand before you today alongside my colleague, Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne, to announce the first of its kind bipartisan Congressional Creators Caucus. You can applaud now. Thank you. I also want to thank all the creators who have decided to be here today. We welcome you and look forward to working with you. This endeavor is a new effort to...
I like to pause at this moment to make clear how effortlessly MatPat slits into this position and role as he's standing next to his wife, Stephanie. Because this is actually something that goes back to his last presentation on GT Live before he turned over his authority on his channel so that he could see whether or not, as he was crying on the last GT Live before his final sign-off, did I do enough? This is MatPat doing something a little bit more than just Sans Undertale, okay? This is more than just showing Pope a video game about narrative structure. This is Matthew Patrick actually looking like he could possibly become a fucking politician. A good politician. And of course his wife Stephanie standing next to him, hand in hand with his dossier to try and make sure that he's done it appropriately. Honestly, for a half second, it took me a second to realize that that was him, outside of the Twitter post that I came across that I've been promoting it through.
To bring fresh perspectives of creators into the public policy conversation. The creator economy is now a vibrant ecosystem of online digital content creators operating on digital platforms, including diverse businesses that have emerged to support them. Creators are entrepreneurs trying to grow and build their businesses, their brands, both on and offline at lightning speed. And like any innovation, sometimes we're building the plane as we're flying it. And as they are producing valuable and usable content, they're also being met with a plethora of challenges. Many entrepreneurs and small business owners face, such as access to capital and financial services, tax reporting and compliance, vocational training for creator economy jobs, data privacy, intellectual property and copyrights, platform accountability and algorithmic transparency, monetization and payment transparency. To meet the moment, their views and challenges must be heard by Congress in a meaningful and actionable way. After the proposed TikTok ban looked like it would become reality, my colleagues and I heard the story after story from creators who reached out in fear that their livelihoods would be taken away from them. We were behind the curve in protecting their rights and understanding some of the challenges, and we needed to implement a forum to address these issues. As digital content creators reach a global audience and shape the conversation on a multitude of subject areas and build substantial business and brands that make waves in our modern economy, we need to ensure that their voices are heard in the policy process. Various platforms, such as YouTube, are providing creators and viewers ecosystems of ways to reach millions on a global scale, allowing creators to build capital, paying more than $70 billion to creators and media companies in just the past 3 years. Congress, as I said, is behind the curve, and we have to stay abreast of industry trends and how creators use online platforms to make money in order to ensure guardrails are in place to protect creators and the exponential growth of this industry. Again, I am excited to bring the Creators Caucus to the Hill, and I look forward to working with my colleague, Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, in meeting the moment. My position on Energy and Commerce Committee, Rep. Beth Van Dyne's role on the Small Business Committee is a great union to lead this caucus and address creators' issues. From data privacy to accessing capital to engaging with the SBA, we have an opportunity here to meet the greatest challenges creators face, and our service on committees built upon bipartisanship aligns us perfectly to meet this critical moment. So let me thank you, and it's my honor and privilege now to turn it over to Representative Beth Van Duyne. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Beth Van Duyne. I represent the great Congressional District 24 in Texas. In addition to being on small business, I'm also on the Ways and Means Committee, and I also chair the former Mayor's Caucus, which when we talk about bipartisan things, it's an awesome committee, an awesome caucus to be a part of. And I want to thank all of you for being here today to help us officially kick off the Creators Caucus.
Also, before anybody asks, yes, that is indeed Pokimane in a power suit to the left side of the screen.
I am thrilled to be joined by my co-chair, Representative Clark, in this moment of bipartisan agreement. Proof that if there's one thing that can bring both sides of the aisle that we can appreciate, it's just funny cat videos. But let's talk about this fast-growing, always evolving digital creator marketplace. It's home to everything from adorable apple pills to DIY plumbing advice that actually works most of the time. It's fun, it's chaotic, and yes, it's also serious business. Today, there are more than 70 million content creators making money online, and that means that nearly every single congressional district has people who are out there that are turning their creativity into paychecks. And whether they're making makeup tutorial masters, or citizen journalists, or that guy who reviews fast food in his car, they're small business owners, they are job creators, and they are community builders.
Report of the week recognized. Report of the week recognized. He made it. He made it. He made it.
These folks aren't just changing how we consume content, but they're changing how we think about work, entrepreneurship, and even fame. I mean, who knew that tossing a water bottle with perfect aim could turn into a brand worth millions? But with all this innovation comes challenges. From
Why is Pokey wearing her father's suit? Because Amain, for all of her bluster and her stupidity, is a very savvy businesswoman. And the way that you look in this moment matters. That's why we love her. It matters. It matters that she's in a power suit and she's not dressed like she's an influencer that is talking about how much sex she has with her boyfriend. When you are doing Capitol Hill business, you dress like you're going to Capitol Hill. The same way that if you're going to court, you do not show up in fucking khakis and a flip-flop.
Changing regulations and confusing tax rules to try and figure out how to turn a viral video into a sustainable business. That's where the Creators Caucus comes in. We want to understand what these modern small businesses need and how Congress can help them grow, succeed, and keep doing what they do best, and that is creating awesome stuff. So now let me brag on one of our hometown success stories, Dude Perfect. Anybody out there here, Dude Perfect? You don't know them. You should. I definitely tell you your kids do. But imagine 5 college buddies with a camera, a basketball, and way too much time on their hands. They turn trick shots in their backyard into an internet empire. Today they've got over 61 million subscribers. 61 million subscribers. They sell out NBA arenas with family-friendly live videos and shows, and they just opened an 80,000 square foot headquarters in Frisco. Frisco, Texas. Oh, and they're also planning a theme park. I mean, a theme park, y'all. I cannot even get my printer to work, and these guys are building the Disney World of trick shots. So what's amazing is that their story isn't about fame and fortune. It's about faith and friendship and building something meaningful. They've created jobs, they've inspired millions, and they've shown what happens when creativity meets opportunity. And that's what the heart of the Creators Caucus is. We are here for the big names and the niche stars, for the backyard inventors, the kitchen table podcasters, and the teachers who explain quantum physics using sock puppets. Whatever your content, we want to help you to create your dreams, make them big, navigate the hurdles, and share your voice with the world.
So, off the back of another alternate dimensional Carl, effectively telling you, do propaganda for the left, it's super good, we need optics right now. Over in this reality, you have the kind of thing that actually needs to be done by content creators, no matter what background they come from, which is getting the boomers to understand how very important the structure and the understanding of the normies is to knowing where we're getting shit done. So, no matter how much I talk, it's not as relevant as when, say, someone like MatPat talks. So, this, where alternate reality universe Stormcloak Carl is telling you, be dumb, be gay, do crimes, and also do good coverage so you can turn it into a moment to monetize the government. MatPat's doing the thing that you should actually be doing, which is the hard work. I was worried that I wouldn't have a way to naturally transition into talking about this. I thought the segue was going to be poor. Thanks for giving me that opportunity to do that, Exocrusher.
I want to thank you all again for being here today. The Creators Caucus is about making sure that people that are driving this new economy, whether they're filming in high-tech studios or just propping their phones up against a stack of books, that they have the support that they need to succeed. Our job is to make the path a little smoother, the rules a little clearer, and the opportunities that much bigger. So because whether or not you're reaching an audience of 50 or 50 million, we're not just supporting content. We are backing creativity, small business, and a future where anyone with a good idea and a Wi-Fi signal has a real shot at success. And I want to thank my co-chair, Clark, and invite her back up to the podium.
Very well. Thank you, Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne of Texas. It's now my honor and my privilege to bring to the fore Matthew and Stephanie Patrick, and they're going to share with you sort of their lens to what we're doing today in establishing this caucus. So, Stephanie and Matthew.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We're Stephanie, and thank you both so much for being here. We're Stephanie and Matthew Patrick. We've been creators and business owners online for the last 14 years, and we built one of the most successful and largest digital production companies in the creator economy. We're very proud of it. Additionally, over the last decade, we've served as advisors to hundreds of creators as well as some of the world's biggest media companies all over the place. Through our work, we've witnessed the incredible impact and incredible diversity of what it means to be a creator. You've heard all of this a bit already, but it encompasses everything from literally you sharing family photos on Instagram to small mom and pop businesses who use TikTok Shop to promote their products. It also includes some of the largest production companies in the world, like Mr. Beast Studios from our home state of North Carolina. He just hit 400 million subscribers on YouTube and is valued as a company of over $1 billion. Some of these companies employ hundreds of people, and to the point some employ 0, 1, 5. It's just an incredible range. This is the diversity of what it means to be a creator at every level. The creator economy is a force that is growing and cannot be ignored, and we're so excited that it has a place here today. At its core, a creator is a small business. Just like we said, growing through the power of online video, there are now thousands from every conceivable background, from every state in the U.S., all building brands and companies. Social video platforms like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you name it, all of them, they provide opportunities to create millions of jobs. And not just in arts and entertainment. We're talking jobs in data analytics, programming, marketing, sales, engineers, design, the list goes on. These platforms and the business owners working on them very hard, tirelessly, all the time, are also providing greater representation, freedom of expression, and education for viewers in every state and jurisdiction, as well as around the world.
Right now, we all know the major headline-grabbing topics, right? Everything from online privacy, responsible use of AI, addictive algorithms, protection of children on the internet, the list goes on and on. Creators are some of the first people, the first businesses to actually have to confront these issues head first on a daily basis. And it's our hope, through this Creator Caucus and through the conversations that it's going to inspire, that we can help educate legislators on these fast-moving, ever-evolving issues so that legislation is timely and relevant. On the other hand, some issues that we're going to be speaking about aren't making the most exciting of headlines, but are equally important and critical to the survival of this budding ecosystem. Things like clarification of tax codes for a new category of entrepreneur and access to small business support and resources. Every congressional district has itself a creator-led business, and there are more and more appearing each and every day. This isn't just an East Coast, West Coast issue or a Middle America industry. This is an everyone industry. Many of the issues that are facing the creator economy are also increasingly impacting small businesses and civilians at large. More and more, all companies are relying on these digital platforms to get their messages out and to grow their customer bases or to improve their growth potential. So in our mind, this is just as much a creator economy caucus as it is a future economy caucus. And so it is our great honor and our great privilege to be working with Representatives Clark and Van Dyne for recognizing the value of this space and for including us and other creators in these very important discussions moving forward. Thank you. And back to you, Representative Clark.
So we're just giving you a little preview, and I venture to say that the work that we're here doing, we will be doing with this caucus, will actually have global implications. Because indeed, when you're an online platform, not only are you being exposed to the vast market that is the United States of America, but we are a nation that is emulated around the world. And so the work that we do through this caucus will, I think, have ripple effects globally. Having said that, let me thank Matthew and Stephanie for bringing their remarks, and have my dear colleague, Beth Van Dyne, bring her final remarks.
I'm just excited to be here today. I cannot wait to see what happens in the future. When I talk to, my son is 23, my daughter's 26, so I would say that this is a new land for me as well. But being able to connect with my kids has just been phenomenal. And when you start thinking about where we are getting information now, it's not on TV, it's not reading the paper. A lot of the information that we're getting is being provided online in a way that people want to hear it, the way that they want to receive it. It's evolution. And so we need to make sure that we are not doing anything from a legislative perspective that will determine the outcome, or that would actually prevent this innovation from occurring. And I am just wanting to be, we're hungry, we want to have legislative fixes, but we also want to make sure that these small business owners can be as successful as possible. So I'm really proud to be able to do this with you. And if you all have any questions, let us know. Yeah. Always. Move slower than the creators, yeah. I think regardless of how fluent you are in the industry, all of us know that it's out there. We've all seen it, whether or not it's in campaigns or as we're coming together for votes. And it's very obvious that it's prevalent. We get phone calls about it from our constituents. I think by creating a caucus, by giving us an opportunity to have a platform where we're discussing it, where we're going to be inviting people who actually do this for a living to come and share their stories, share their concerns, share their experiences with members of Congress, I think it's a great opening. It's a great opportunity to be able to partner with the industry as opposed to trying to define the industry.
I agree with Beth wholeheartedly. As someone who's been really enamored with all things tech, I share with folks, I'm a sci-fi geek, and so curiosity is just a part of my fiber and my being, and that's what we want to stoke in our colleagues, curiosity. We've gotten them to drop the flip phones, and now they are prepared because they're receiving content through their staffs, through their family members, on their mobile devices, and so I think that this is a great time with the level of engagement that we all have as a body for us to get this caucus off the ground and get the engagement and participation of our colleagues as well.
Just started it.
Well, we'll be having a reception this afternoon. Hopefully a little food, a little drink, a little content creators will draw some members to that event. And certainly we will be circulating among our colleagues to let them know that this caucus has been established and they need to be a part of it.
Well, I think when you're talking about content, I mean, it has to be bipartisan because regardless, it's not a one-sided issue. You're having people from every single, as I mentioned, every single congressional district, 70 million content creators. It affects all of us. I think working in a way that we're not stifling, we're not limiting the growth of potentially innovation, but we're actually looking at this for small business. I'm both on the Ways and Means Committee, which handles tax policy, trade policy, but I'm also on small business. And when we think about, we just had a hearing this morning talking about private equity in the small business world. It was a very bipartisan hearing. I think that can happen because we all have mom and pops at home who we want to make sure are creative. We've got over 34 million small businesses in this country, and I think helping them, aiding them, and being able to be create job opportunities, increase our economy, and be able to share their content is what we should be focused on.
Oh, did you want me to answer? I mean, she said it all. Any other questions? Well, then thank you, everyone. Thank you.
So, ultimately, Matthew Patrick is put as the head of who is going to be one of the many faces, now in a form of past YouTube precedent, but legal political theory precedent, to make sure that people like myself and people like Horror are not getting railed in and our backs blown politically and or legally out by YouTube, because there are people that are going to be behind policy inside of Congress and inside of the House of Representatives that are going to make it important for everybody to understand how impossible it is to be able to have an opportunity to grow when you're being stifled from every single direction. Now, there are some people who have had concerns. I agree. This can go very south very quickly. But because of the person who's behind it, or the people who are behind it, because it's being presented by Matthew Patrick and not a Maine, I can be able to say it's going to go in the right way. Because I at least trust the character of Matthew Patrick. I certainly don't trust the opinion and the character of Pokimane. For somebody like Pokimane, this is a photo op. For people like myself, or Matthew Patrick, it's an opportunity to meet the middle of the aisle. Because nothing that a person wants to do when it comes to issues like this can be done without the rising of tides and the joining of hands and the meeting of minds. You have to have actual understanding and meaningful awareness to truly get shit off the ground and going in the direction it needs to go, because everybody understands what they're there to do. It's much like the actual energy behind what you should be hearing from a person who should be talking about the riots. So, really briefly, on the LA riots. It is not the job of people like myself to tell you how to feel about the riots. It is my job to tell you the same thing I've always told all of you, which is how to have proper skills and good tactics. So, only good outcomes, no bad outcomes. Obviously, in the case of these Twitter replies about the outcomes, because Kirsch has been on top of this, there have been plenty of people who've been able to cover the riots directly, I've been covering examples of it. I've also been having conversations about it inside servers. I even had a deeper conversation about this with people over in Geistwin. Because there was a particular conversation that was being had about religious structure, of whether or not people could be considered to be Christ-like or demon-like, because they were showing up to these places, using Palestinian flags and Mexican flags and Burkina Faso flags to try and wrestle back the optics of what people were doing on the ground versus what was important to the actual situation. It is not my job to tell you how to feel about the riots. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I am an independent news reporter. I am an influencer. I am a fucking content creator. I am a satirist. But at the end of the day, I am at best an independent media journalist. So it's not my job to tell you how to feel. But it is in my place to give you advice. And the advice that I would give you is to pay attention to the shit that actually matters. And put your energy behind shit that is actually meaningful. Should you be trying to put your energy behind a man who's telling you basically manipulate the optics and to be able to control things in the goal of trying to get you to join his narrative sides? No. What is in my goal is to tell you, hey, remember, have fun. And then also, remember to check in with your friends and to actually sit down and show up. Because it's not just important for you to show up, it's important for you to show out when it matters. The shit that MatPat's doing right now at the caucus, that matters. People should hear about it. So I have a right and a job to tell you about this happening. And if I didn't know about it, it would be your job to tell me about it so that I can get involved in it. See how that works? I didn't have to tell you to go to be gay and do crimes, did I? Nah. Then, at the other end of things, let us now look into the actions that happened live at the event from the viewpoint of Kirsch.
Me neither. I'm just kidding, I am. That's fucking funny. You guys are cool, man. I want to adopt you guys as my little brothers. Oh, dude. How old are you? 19? I'm 15.
Almost.
No way. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh.
It's okay though. Oh my gosh.
But if you're 15? Yeah. I thought you guys were like 19, 20.
No, I wish.
How old are you? And you're like, I'm 13. 13. Oh my gosh.
Can we?
How old are you?
I can't tell if they're lying or not.
Oh, awesome. So these are kids.
Can we get your number?
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe we
I'll
could
be like your uncle.
No, but like let's like hang out. Yeah, we're trying to.
Yeah.
We're trying to
What the fuck?
I'll find out. Like,
What the fuck is
I'll find some another 15-year-old for you guys, or 16-year-old.
What the fuck?
We like older. We like older.
Yeah, I know, but I'm too old. But I'm too young.
Your secret safe with us. Well, are we?
No one would know. No.
They're live streaming.
Wink.
It's not a secret.
Get the guy's number. He's
Okay, but they're watching from. They came to watch. Let's go talk to the guys.
Wait.
Let's go.
Is this your TikTok streamers? Or like, what the fuck am I witnessing?
All right, sorry, but it is gay pride though. And they're trying to
It is gay pride. It's fine. They were watching live grooming. What is happening?
Now that I've seen the clip in full, yeah, I was technically aware of this horror, but I didn't have the full clip on context because nobody would provide the full fucking clip. Fortunately, Kirsch provided the live stream VOD here, because I believe this one is still listed up on her page, so that's still there. Hadn't had time to go through it all because there were multiple things happening, but yeah, there are TikTok streamers that were going to these riots, and this was an example where they were approached by a gay rioter that wanted to basically have some butt sex. He wanted to get up in the cut and put some Vaseline on a booty hole. And they were live while this was happening. There are other examples of things that happened like this that were crazy too. Because keeping up with this shit is an around-the-clock job. Sleep deprivation, shit like that. If I were in a better position, I would have properly regimented out the update news post for the Certified Negro News Network. I have the music, I have the pressers, I've got the fucking program packet, or I'm developing it rather, but it wasn't ready yet. It's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. I haven't begun the work that I need to do for Season 3 of Radio Carl, which is where I start rolling out the idea of Carl 2 Network, okay? Like, if I were in a better position, I would have been on top of this shit the entire fucking time. But also, my woman needed me. So, that's where I've been, outside of dealing with my internet problems for the last 5 days. Intermittently. Both when I was on camera and off camera. Is there anything else I needed to present to you guys or bring up and talk about? I don't think so.